We've covered a lot of different kinds of foods on this show. There was graf, and I'm sure there was other foods too. But the one thing we've never really covered are the desserts. Sweets. Blagi raboti. With good reason, I've never been that big on desserts myself, but I can't deny their popularity, so it's time that we covered them. And if we're going to do a dessert, might as well do the king of all desserts, baklava. I can't think of a more popular dessert than baklava in Macedonia or really any of the Balkan countries, so I think we got a good candidate. Now, the problem is I don't know how to make a baklava, but it's okay. I know somebody that does. In fact, she's probably the best baklava maker I've ever known. And I think it's time she's made an appearance on this show. You guys are in luck. My name's Nick Sadovsky. This is The Better Balkan. So, as promised, I have a special baklava expert on today's episode, and she's right here. My mom, Sneža Sadovsky. Thank you for being here. You're my very first special guest on this show. Actually, if you look into our archives, my mom has appeared on the show before. If you look at the episode Macedonian Cookout, she's the one there on Pleskavici Detail, so they were very, very good.
Yes.
Okay, so today we're going to be making a baklava. How are we going to start, Mom?
First, we're gonna do the ore,
Okay.
the walnuts.
So now with walnuts, there's a couple ways to do them. These are whole walnuts, and we're gonna chop them up here. You can buy already cut up walnuts yourself, but they tend to be more expensive, and why would you do that? So first thing we're gonna take a handful of these walnuts whole, and we're gonna put them inside of our salad shooter. Close the top, let it rip. Now we're using a salad shooter, that's what we're used to, it's much easier like that. If you don't have a salad shooter, no big deal. You can just take your walnuts and a knife on a chopping board and just cut them up as rough as you can, or as fine as you can.
You just chop them. So this is how it comes out. Okay.
Okay, now the walnuts are done.
Nice job with the walnuts. Na zdravje.
Na zdravje.
Pojena makedonska.
Okay, now that our walnuts are done, we're going to switch to our dough. Today we're going to use phyllo dough. Now phyllo dough comes in sheets. When you roll it out like this, it'll have just big, long, very, very, very kind of paper thin sheets with this. Okay, so now with our pan, we're going to kind of measure it to see exactly how much we need. And actually, we're very fortunate because the phyllo dough almost fits exactly with the pan right here.
So we're going to cut it in half.
There you go. Go ahead, cut. Okay, first things first, we oiled up the pan. We're using canola oil for this. Mama's kind of just lubing it all up, so you don't want... The worst thing you ever want to do is your baklava to stick to the pan. You want it to come out.
Yes. Okay.
Now, your first layer is actually one of the most important layers. You want your cleanest piece of phyllo dough on there. You don't want holes on there because we want a nice bottom crust, kind of like a foundation for your baklava.
Something like that.
Perfect. So we're going to add about 2 or 3 layers, and in between each second or third layer, we drizzle a little bit of the canola oil on there. And after the third layer, we're going to sprinkle some of our walnuts on. And then you repeat.
That's it.
About 2 or 3 layers, a little bit of oil, walnuts, 2 or 3 layers.
The more
oil.
walnuts, it tastes better.
Everything's better with walnuts.
The more walnuts.
Now we're just using walnuts with this, but there are other nuts you can use too. One of the other popular ones is pistachios. It looks green, so you can sprinkle those in there with your walnuts. I've heard raisins too. You can throw that in there.
You could throw raisins.
Almonds too. Really any kind of nut that you like. But this is one of the more traditional versions of it is just walnuts.
The basic.
The basic one. But again, you can make it however you like. thing to mention is we're using an oil dispenser for this. If you don't have this, very simple method, just pour your oil inside a bowl. The spoon, you just drizzle it in just like that. Couldn't be simpler. Now the best thing about having your mom over cooking is I don't need to cook. I'm just gonna hang out back here, doing a great job.
And for me, best time to spend with my son since we are quarantined right now, okay?
I hope everybody's having a lovely quarantine. Okay, now we're coming to the end. We pretty much use almost all of the phyllo dough. I got about a quarter of it left in the half side.
We're gonna make something else with it.
We'll make something else with it, exactly. So your final layer, you're just gonna do 4 full sheets of phyllo dough. No walnuts in between. So it's just gonna be 4 layers. Also remember to add some oil in between each one of those layers.
For the last sheets, you make sure you save the prettiest one, okay? Because you want it to look really nice, okay? So we are done now and we're gonna cut it in smaller pieces, so before we cook.
Now when we go to cut this, now the traditional version of baklava, you want diamonds in your baklava. What we're gonna try to do, because we don't really want to waste, we want as little waste as we can, we're gonna do kind of a combination of the two. So we're gonna cut in straight lines, and then from there we're gonna cut in diagonal patterns. Okay, now that it's been cut up, we're going to put it in the oven. Before we do that, the most important thing to remember is you have to cut this before it goes into the oven, otherwise you're going to mess it up. So now it's been cut up, that nice diamond pattern, in the oven, 375 stepani for about how long?
Between 20 and 30 minutes.
20-30 minutes before it's kind of like nice and golden brown. So while the baklava is in the oven right now, we're going to work on the sherbet, or the sauce that goes on top. So we're going to take 3.5 cups of water, and 3.5 cups of sugar, and 1 shot of a nice scotch or a brandy, something kind of like one of these sweeter kind of alcohols or liqueur or something like that.
And the lemon.
To that, we're going to zest 1 lemon and we're going to add it to it.
Nice.
After we've added the zest of the lemon, we're just going to bring it to a boil. Okay, so the baklava is out of the oven, and then the shurup has finished boiling. So right now we're just going to let them cool off and kind of let them both reach to not quite room temperature, a little bit hotter than room temperature. I think that should be fine.
Yes.
Now that our baklava and our syrup have cooled down, the syrup is still hot. It's still, I can still see steam coming from it, but it's not bubbling hot. So around there. Now that it's cooled down enough, we're gonna pour it inside the baklava. Now the most important thing to remember is you make sure you coat the entire top before you pour it all inside, because you want, especially the top, to soak up everything and kind of, right now when it's in the oven, the top tends to kind of bake upwards a little bit. When you pour in the sauce, everything will not settle in nice and pretty.
Okay, it's coming out beautiful.
It looks good to me. Good enough to eat.
Yes.
And after you make sure everything's been coated, we're just going to pour it all inside. You want it to be, what, all of it kind of like submerged?
Yes, the whole thing is gonna soak it up.
After you've poured all your syrup in it, it should be submerged and look a little bit something like this. And after that, you pretty much just let it sit for about an hour, maybe 2 or so.
Couple hours, even more maybe.
Couple hours is even better. Let it get to room temperature. Baklava is one of those magical desserts where it's not supposed to be cold, it's not supposed to be hot. Room temperature is perfect temperature for baklava. I'd say this has been a pretty good team effort.
Yes, cheers. Na zdrowie.
Na zdrowie. And after your baklava has been sitting for about an hour or two, it should look a little something like this. Now I gotta tell you, this baklava tastes as good as it looks. I'd like to give a big thank you to my mom for being my special guest and our baklava expert. I could not have made this without her. Give this a try at home. Take some pictures of it. Love to see how it turns out. My name is Nick Sadowski. This has been the Better Balkan. Hey guys, if you like what you've been seeing and you want a more interactive experience, you can head on down to Facebook and search under the Better Balkan. While you're there, you'll be able to find links to all of my videos. You can chat with me directly, send me a message if you have any questions about any of the recipes that I've covered, any of the music on the show, or if you have any suggestions about recipes that you want to see me cover. If you have suggestions about recipes, please have a couple of pictures of these recipes. Sometimes these things are a little bit hard to find, so pictures would be a big help. If you have any questions about life in general, I'll be happy to answer them. Even if I don't know the answer, I'll be happy to make something up. That being said, hope you've been enjoying the videos. Keep on cooking.